When is it Gucci? Minucci. All right, welcome. Lecture number 2 on Demian by Hesse. And this is going to be a fall from grace slash the other side slash unlikely savior. Okay, so we're going to cover 2 worlds. We're going to cover 2 very important characters, or one semi-important, one extremely important. We're going to cover the forbidden world and the accepted world. We're going to cover breaking rules and the mark of Cain and a special esoteric group. Before we begin, I wanted to thank Professor Higgins, University of Texas. Thank you for returning my call. I think I got your approval to dedicate this course to your husband, Professor Solomon. So this is an existential lens into this book. For those of you who don't get that, hang in there. What it means more than anything else is we are hoping to talk to the individual and to awaken the individual's potential, right? So quick shout outs to my man Troy and one of my oldest students. This is Miles. I don't know where this kid's at. Statistically speaking, given where I first taught him, summer school in Phoenix, 2008, right? Minority student in with the ELL kids. Statistically speaking, it's very improbable that that boy is still in school. He'd be 16-ish, right? Very statistically unlikely, but if I can find him, cool, right? He was a bad kid. Troy, you're not a bad kid. Today you awoke. I witnessed a young man at 16 say, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to turn things around. So we'll see. I'm going to keep tabs on you. Put a shout out for now. All right, let's get started. There is a quick introduction chapter, and it's the adult voice saying, listen, I'm going to tell you a story. I don't have any knowledge. I can only claim this, that I'm a seeker. I'm an individual, and we can, each of us can only truly grasp and only understand himself, right? Oneself. So this is going to be about an individual, and he just gives you a quick preface. Like, don't worry, it's going to turn out okay. Let's begin. And I'll bullet pointed a couple big ideas to discuss. I'm going to pull back on that. Let's get right into the plot. Let's get into chapter 1, which is this 2 worlds. And yes, Hesse is all about kind of like oneness, Zen, but he frames it in this 2 worlds, in this world of Christianity. And for those of you who don't know or aren't very familiar with that, I would look up The Torment of St. Anthony by Giovanni Girolamo Salvolo, whatever, I can't, who knows. I'll put a link in, but check it out, and it gives you an idea of good, evil, right? This is the Christian world that he grew up in. Hesse grew up in one too. He was Protestant slash, a couple other things, and God was used as a, let's just say, get your ass back in line kind of thing, like you're a bad child kind of thing. So there's the one world, his parents' world. He describes it as, right, duty and obligations, confidence and confessions, right? You had to keep this world clear and beautiful and harmonious. I mean, there's a certain path that's laid out for you in the Christian life. However, he talks about the other world, the other side, right? The rest, all the rest. He's like, but then there's drunks and murderers and all this other stuff happening there. It's right next door. Right, this beautiful, horrible, wild, cruel things exist all around. It's an interesting way to put it. Beautiful, wild, cruel, right? And so, you walk down the street, you see these things, but as a child, you're not really, exposed to them. I think this is him still as a child, right? This is before he gets sent to Latin school. So this is probably him, equivalent today would be middle school, elementary school, maybe that shift into it. And if you think about this too, what happens to kids? I ask my students this. I'll be like, look down at the kindergartners. Look, they're not pissed, right? Look at you guys. Some of you are pissed. A lot of you get in a lot more trouble. And then look at grown-ups. Almost all of them are pissed, and almost none of them have fun, right? What happens to kids? Why do they start off so happy and end out, what is that about life? There is, bad things that happened to you. I'll get back to you in a second there, little lady. All right. Focus, right? And what's your introduction to the adult world? It's breaking rules. It might be the first time you looked at a dirty magazine. It might be the first time that you took a penny from your parents' jar, whatever it is. Like there's that thing that happens. So there's this guy Franz Kromer, shows up. This is a bad kid. This is the bully. This is the kid that you do not want to hang out with after school. And he finds Demian and the protagonist Sinclair, a couple other kids, and they're kind of exchanging stories. Yeah, I did this. Yeah, I did that. And our protagonist makes up a story. He says, I was just kidding, but I needed to be tough. So I told him I stole these apples, blah, 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 right? Franz, corners him later and is like, hey, if you said that, the guy that that took the apples, he wants me to tell him who did it. And, I'm going to tell him it was you, unless you pay me. So he has the character in an odd ethical bind, right? Of okay, now I have to pay you money. And after this happens, it just crushes him. He talks about he doesn't feel like he's welcome in his own house. He's shaking there. He's crying. All these things look like they don't belong to him anymore. I no longer had any part in its good, quiet cheer. I had dirt on my feet that I couldn't scrape off the mat. That might be like a Hamlet reference, too. This blood on your hands, this feeling of guilt, right? Again, he just made up a story. It'd probably be the best to be like, I'm kidding, dude. I was just making it up. But he can't. And he's consumed by this. And so his entrance into the world of adults, his first way that he loses his innocence, is he kind of lies. But then at that point, he goes on a series of much more. He still does start to steal. He does start to feel bad. His parents are like, "What the hell's wrong with you?" Right? They send him to the doctor at one point. That's an interesting. The doctor said, "Wash him in cold water every morning, toughen him up." Notice too, this is something that defines Hesse in general. He's not really very close with his parents. His parents don't play a big role in this story. We all speak from our own experience, and Hesse was not very close to his parents. Suffered a lot, I guess, through them. So that brings us to an unlikely savior. In chapter 2, which is the mark of Cain, one of the messages that I've found that students really respond to in Hermann Hesse is when you get to Siddhartha and you're like, okay, some people will suffer more than others. There's some of you that are different. They're going to suffer more. And you can see a couple kids light up. I've had some beautiful light bulb moments. And then there's whatever kid goes, who are they? And not you. Where I just blurted that out. But some people are different. There's a mark that makes them different. Now, again, this two worlds idea, this is that's Christianity. This is somebody is different. I think Nietzsche is Hesse is borrowing from Nietzsche, right? First characteristic of somebody that's different is they attract strong attention. No, scuso. They attract strong opinions and attention. So nobody understands the kid Demian. They think he might be gay. They think he's sexually experienced. They think he's different. Whatever it is, he's different. He stands out. And he finds our protagonist. He starts telling him these different things, right? Right, this is the mark on the forehead. He does a complete counter to what the teacher said about Cain. Cain is somebody evil. Cain killed Abel, right? Look in Genesis. It's an interesting story. And he was cursed because of it. But Demian says, no, the guy got it wrong. Actually, Cain is more special, right? And they said that people with this mark were sinister and unnerving, right? Anyone with courage and character always seems unnerving to others. Interesting, right? You do seem unnerving to others. So they put you in summer school, or they put you in a religious school, they send you to the doctor, and they tell you you're bad, right? We'll get to that stuff. But here's the interesting thing. Demian goes and talks to, has a little chit-chat, shall we say, with Franz, and problem solved. Franz leaves him alone. He does allude to the fact that we could kill him, and poor little Sinclair's like, what? And so Damian's probably like, all right, I'll just take care of it another way. We don't know yet how that happens, but we do know that it's gone. Problem solved, right? And he's back, right? He kind of goes back to his family, falls back into this kind of prodigal son role. I'm so happy to be back. You can kind of get the sense that this isn't going to last. You also get a whisper of the adult voice here, and this is an interesting part. He's saying, listen, this might seem ridiculous to you to think that a kid would have such strong opinions and strong thoughts. and such an intense emotional reaction, but you don't understand children. It's meant for people who better understand the human heart. Like, believe me, this is real. Believe me. And I'm not talking to you, whoever says, that's not realistic, right? Hesse disqualifies them. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to them. I'm talking to that special group. I think that's Nietzsche. I think that's kind of like that interesting appeal. Again, the message is not for most people. I don't really care. Most people are going to say, that's ridiculous. Most people are going to say, this kid's bad, right? But Hesse says, if you're not most people, stick around, right? Find out what this Demian guy did. Find out why he saved this kid and how. Cling with all my heart or my might to the world where I'd been born, right? Alas, I only know too well there's nothing in the world more hateful to a person than walking a path that leads to themselves. So we're going to leave it on that note. Coming up is more rebirth or more awakenings to the adult world. Step 1 is you break the rule. Step 2 is chicka bow wow sexuality. So that's coming up. So stay posted. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of this. Andale pues. Keep doing what you do, Miles and Troy's and other different people of the world. It's okay to be different. We're getting there. It's okay to be different. I want to start off the next class with a story about that. Alright? Respect.